interest, and then you start kind of challenging Ash to look at himself and figure out why he is avoidant with his own feelings and emotions and the way he tackles things. And I feel like that level of vulnerability to reach that is often harder to achieve than to play love or to flirt on screen. I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit to building that relationship with Samra.
We both live in New York. We live in Brooklyn, and we live super close. So we both found out that we got the job, and we met up and we went for a walk, and yeah, we just immediately hit it off. We hung out for like an hour, maybe more, I don't remember, but yeah, we just had such a great rapport. And then when we got to
I think it was 4 hours.
I was like looking for 4-leaf clovers or something. Yeah, we just really got along. And then when we got to Toronto, I think we had Zoomed, but meeting in person, it felt really effortless. And I think Amar is a great leader, and he's very collaborative. And so it didn't feel like we were creating these characters. It didn't feel like we were, that we needed to build anything. It honestly felt really natural.
I can name 1,000 things you've been in. I'm curious what it's like to work on all these things all the time and then come to a project that's such a specific voice representing an often underrepresented group in mainstream media. So what is that like for you as an actor to?
These people. I don't know that I thought of it in those terms.
Yeah.
I think often you're like giving yourself over imaginatively to the story that you're telling. And it felt like a really compelling story. It felt like an immersive process that was led by Amar, and it was, yeah, it was different from a lot of what I've done, but the heart of it was storytelling, and it felt, because we were in Toronto and everybody was so committed to the project, it felt like the least, I guess, hierarchical set that I've ever been a part of, and that was inspiring.
Obviously, it's a reference to Parkinson's, and it's just something that I felt was also indicative of the mind frame of the lead character. And my dad really was diagnosed with Parkinson's in my 20s, and so that was obviously a very important part of the film. But more important than the literal meaning was really just what Ash is going through at the time. The team was totally committed to that, shooting in Scarborough and shooting in downtown Toronto. But shooting on location comes with its own challenges, and often when you're a low-budget movie, you're going to find that people are pushing you towards, building a set and just kind of staying there, or going outside the city to shoot, again, for tax incentives and things like that. And we were pretty adamant that that wasn't going to work for this movie. Mainly because my friends and family are going to see it and they're going to be like, yo, that's not Scarborough, right? So, but also Scarborough is a really gorgeous place, right? It just, to me, a lot of the movies that get made about Scarborough, you can see that the filmmakers have a love for it that maybe the rest of the city doesn't quite understand, right? There's a visual and landscape kind of beauty to Scarborough that I really wanted to bring out in the way we shot it. I don't know that, I think a lot of big cities have similar things going on, and I think a lot of people who live in, say, New York or LA can probably connect to this, but there is something very specific about being from Scarborough, having downtown be literally right there, but always feel like when you're from that community, you're kind of always on the outside looking in, as Ash says, right? So he's putting on a bit of a show in that scene for the agents, but it is something that I think most artists from the outskirts of Toronto have kind of always felt. We didn't plan it this way, but I guess the film has kind of become a bit of a timestamp of Scarborough, because even though we shot it in 2023, finished it in 2024, but literally like 2 weeks after we shot on the RT, it derailed. So that's kind of gone now. The grocery store we shot at, Sun Valley, is kind of like an iconic grocery store in that neighborhood. It is also now shut down. And that sequence of like Ash getting on the subway, getting a patty, that patty store is now shut down, right? So, yes. So we didn't plan it this way, but it's become a bit of a timestamp of.
From documentary, so much had to be run and gun because of the nature of indie filmmaking, and he was so good at that. And I think that's what you were talking about when you said doc skills translate to features. It was on the go, a lot of shit went wrong, and we had to make decisions on the fly, and we did. I think it worked. We were stealing shots, right?
Yeah, some of them. I mean, we had permission. We did did things we didn't have permission for. Yeah, and it's tricky. The subway was live. It was not when it was closed down or anything like that, because that costs an amount of money we did not have. And so we had sort of like TTC people with us, like who were, very cleverly distracted by specific members of the crew. But we did what we needed to do, and the performers were just like so game. Shamari and Faizan, who played Gilbert and Rohit, are in the audience somewhere. They were amazing. Really, really fast. But yeah, it was challenging. But once we kind of got, like, there's a funny story. There's one. The best takes of some of the subway stuff, the subway is actually going the wrong way. Because in real life, like, obviously we travel on the right side of the tracks, but the train, because the operator had to move around for us, was going backwards, and we did a take and it was the best take, and I couldn't use it because like the station's on the wrong side and everyone's gonna know. So it was stuff like that. It was challenging, but we got it done.